You wake up one morning, and the whole world feels strangely still. The fridge isn't humming, your phone isn't buzzing on the nightstand, there's no rumble of traffic drifting in from the street. For a second or two, it almost feels nice, like a lazy Sunday where nothing's expected of you. Then you grab your phone, and the screen stays black no matter how many times you tap it. You walk over and flick a light switch. Nothing happens. So you head outside to your car, slide into the driver's seat and turn the key. Not even a cough from the engine. Now you're genuinely puzzled. So you step out onto your porch, and the entire neighborhood looks like someone hit the pause button on reality. No electricity anywhere, no internet, no bars on your phone, not even a crackle of static on the radio. Friend, this isn't your average power outage. What you've just experienced is an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, and in the span of a single heartbeat, the life you knew yesterday is gone. Most folks would stand there frozen, totally baffled about what just happened. But a handful of people would understand right away, and those are the ones who prepared, because there are certain things that keep working even after an EMP knocks everything else flat. Owning those things ahead of time could be what separates total panic from genuinely making it through. So today, we're going to walk through the items that will still have your back when the lights go out for good, and I'll explain exactly why you'll want each of them sitting in your home long before that day ever arrives. Grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's dig in together. First, let's set the record straight on something. An EMP isn't some wild idea cooked up for a Hollywood disaster flick. It's a real possibility, and honestly, the risk keeps climbing. It could come from a nuclear device detonated high up in the atmosphere, or it could roll in from something Mother Nature throws at us, like a gigantic solar flare. NASA has openly talked about exactly that kind of solar event in recent years. One enormous surge of energy, and every electronic gadget around you that isn't shielded gets cooked in an instant. You won't be dialing 911. You won't be searching the web for survival tips. Your phone, your heating, your vehicle, your whole digital existence, all of it vanishes in the blink of an eye. And here's the part that really ought to get your attention. The folks running our country are well aware of this danger. FEMA, the Department of Homeland Security, even members of Congress, they've all sat through hearings and published reports about it. Yet despite all those warnings, our electrical grid is still surprisingly delicate and wide open to trouble. And the average person, they haven't done a single thing to get ready. So the question that really matters is simple. What can you actually do about it? Let's talk through the items that'll stand by you when everything else around you goes dark and quiet. 1. Good old-fashioned hand tools. You really don't need a battery-powered drill when the power's gone for good. What you genuinely need is a trusty hammer, a solid wrench, a sharp handsaw, and the know-how to actually use all three. When society has to start over from scratch after an EMP, that simple box of manual tools suddenly becomes worth its weight in gold. Now here's a slightly worrying thought. Surveys have shown that a huge chunk of younger adults in this country have never once picked up a manual saw or turned a wrench in their entire lives. Just sit with that for a moment. Preparedness reports keep pointing out that basic repair and do-it-yourself skills are quietly fading away, especially in cities. Put plainly, we're not just glued to our screens, we've also become pretty helpless when it comes to fixing things with our hands. Imagine it's 3 days after the blackout. There are no plumbers answering calls and no online tutorials to walk you through anything. A pipe suddenly bursts in your basement and water starts pouring in. What do you reach for? If your instinct is to call somebody, well, you're already in trouble. And let's chat about shelter for a second. If you had to patch a leaky roof, throw together a barricade or chop firewood, could you actually pull it off? Even folks out in rural areas have been reporting that basic hand tools have gotten harder to find on hardware store shelves. In a long, drawn-out crisis with no power, the person who owns a handsaw, a crowbar, and a decent set of screwdrivers becomes the most valuable neighbor on the whole street. We lean way too hard on buttons and batteries these days. But when every electronic thing falls silent, it's the simple, heavy, no charging required gear that keeps you going. So I'll ask you straight, are you ready to roll up your sleeves and work with your hands, or are you just quietly hoping the power flickers back on? 2. Devices tucked away in a Faraday cage. Here's something a lot of people honestly don't realize. An EMP doesn't only take down the power grid, it destroys pretty much anything with a circuit board inside it. That means your phone, your generator, and even your car, all toast in mere milliseconds. But there's good news here. You can actually protect certain belongings using something as ordinary as a metal trash can. It's called a Faraday cage, and the way it works is by blocking that electromagnetic surge from ever reaching what's inside. Both FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security have pointed to it as a legitimate way to shield electronics during EMP situations. And no, you don't need some pricey military-grade contraption. A galvanized steel bin, a bit of cardboard, and some aluminum tape to seal up the lid is honestly all it takes. Cheap, simple, and it could save your life. Now think carefully about this. Do you have any way to communicate if the grid goes down? A walkie-talkie maybe? A hand crank radio? Perhaps a little solar charger? Reports going all the way back to the 2008 EMP Commission spelled it out clearly, warning that an attack like this could trigger a domino effect of failures across critical infrastructure. And without any way to communicate, you're left in the dark in every sense of the word. Most people toss out old cookie tins, ammo boxes, even metal filing cabinets without a second thought. But every single one of those things can be turned into a protective cage. So the real question is, how many of your survival essentials are actually safe from an EMP right this moment? If your honest answer is none, then you're simply not ready yet, because when that pulse arrives, whatever you stored away beforehand might be the only lifeline you've got left. 3. Bicycles, whether manual or a properly stored e-bike. Here's a thought that should stop you in your tracks. After an EMP hits, the overwhelming majority of vehicles on our roads could die within seconds. That's not me guessing. That figure comes straight from the 2008 EMP Commission report, which the Department of Homeland Security stood behind. Modern cars are stuffed with well over 50 microchips. The moment those fry, your $40,000 SUV turns into a very expensive lawn ornament. So what keeps working? Your bicycle. No circuits, no battery, no software updates required. Just a chain, some pedals, and a little muscle power. Let's say your kid is stuck on the other side of town. The phones are dead. There's no rideshare app, no fuel to be had anywhere. Do you have any way to reach them quickly? Because when a whole city collapses, the roads jam up fast, and people start to panic. But you can pedal right past all that gridlock, right around the chaos. And here's the kicker. Only a small slice of Americans ride a bike regularly, and even fewer have one that's actually ready for an emergency. So ask yourself honestly, is your bike in good working order? Do you have spare tubes, a basic repair kit, or even a simple helmet? And what about a backup e-bike? Tucked safely inside a Faraday cage, certain e-bikes without smart features could actually survive, especially the ones with off-grid charging options. In a world gone dark, the gentle hum of bike tires on pavement might just be the only hopeful sound left on the street. Don't wait until it's already too late to start pedaling. 4. A wood-burning stove or fire pit. When the grid goes down, you lose a whole lot more than just your lights. You lose your heat. You lose your stove. You lose the ability to boil a pot of water. But with a wood-burning stove or honestly even a basic backyard fire pit, you take all that control right back. No gas, no electricity. Doesn't matter one bit. You've still got hot meals and warmth when it counts the most. And don't forget, a sizable chunk of homes in this country rely on electricity as their main source of heat according to the Energy Information Administration. That means nearly half the population could be left shivering in place after an EMP or any major outage. Now picture this scene. It's the dead of January. The wind chill has dropped well below zero. Your neighbor's generator? Already dead. Their solar panels? Buried under a thick sheet of ice. And you're gathered around a warm fire, sipping a bowl of hot soup because you had the foresight to plan ahead. FEMA has warned that severe cold following a disaster can be every bit as deadly as the disaster itself. Hypothermia can actually set in once temperatures dip below 50 degrees, and that's especially dangerous for little ones and the elderly. So ask yourself, what's your plan when the thermostat reads 30 degrees and the power simply isn't coming back? Wood is all around us. Fallen branches, downed trees, cut logs, a fire pit in your yard stops being about camping and starts being about survival. In a world stripped of gas and electricity, who's eating hot stew and who's stuck with cold beans straight from the can? Don't wait until you're freezing to wish you'd built one month earlier. 5. A crank or battery-powered radio. When the power grid finally fails, and someday it will, there's one thing that becomes even more precious than food or fuel. Information. Because in a genuine blackout, you won't have the faintest idea what just happened or what might be coming next. No phones, no internet. As for cell towers, most of them only have backup power for somewhere between 8 and 24 hours, according to the FCC. After that window closes, they go silent, and you're left flying completely blind in a world that's already gone quiet. But a crank radio? That keeps right on working. No plugs, no Wi-Fi, just a little handle you turn and a direct line to the outside world. Both FEMA and NOAA recommend keeping an emergency weather radio that can pick up NOAA all hazards alerts, which cover far more than just storms. We're talking chemical spills, nuclear incidents, and yes, even EMP events. Imagine you're sitting at home thinking everything is perfectly fine, but 30 miles down the road, a nuclear plant has quietly issued an evacuation order. Without a radio, you never hear about it. You stay put, and your whole family stays parked right inside the danger zone. During Hurricane Ian, entire communities were plunged into darkness once their cell towers gave out. It was the local radio stations that managed to push vital information out to people. Road closures, where to get food, where rescue teams were operating. Now imagine that on a nationwide scale. No phones, no texts, no alerts. All you've got is that little crank radio sitting on your shelf. And the best part? Plenty of modern models also come with solar backup, built-in flashlights, even USB ports to trickle charge a phone if it somehow still works. But here's the sobering truth. Only a tiny fraction of Americans actually say they feel very prepared for a disaster. That means the vast majority would have no way to hear what matters most at the exact moment it matters most. So when the grid goes quiet, will you be listening, or will you be left guessing? Because that difference could mean getting out in time, or missing your one and only chance. Hey, quick pause. If you're finding any of this helpful so far, do me a small favor and smash that like button. Drop a comment with what you already own from this list and hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. It genuinely helps the channel grow, and I love hearing from you. Okay, back to it. 6. Candles, oil lamps and lanterns. Let me ask you something. What's the very first thing people grab when the power cuts out? The flashlight, then their phone. But once the batteries give up and the phone is just a cold, useless brick in your palm, what are you left with? That's the exact moment the panic creeps in. Not because it's dark, but because you suddenly feel blind and vulnerable. And here's a truth most folks don't really want to admit. Light is so much more than a convenience. It's psychological security. It quietly tells your brain that you're safe, that you're not alone, that you're still in control of your little corner of the world. And when you strip that away for long enough, people genuinely start to crack. After Hurricane Katrina, there were countless reports of neighborhoods where people huddled around candles simply to feel sane again. Not to read by, not to cook with, just to exist in something other than total darkness. And remember, that was a single storm. Now imagine a nationwide EMP blackout. Weeks, maybe even months, with no power at all. FEMA has warned that a widespread grid-down event could leave millions of people sitting in darkness, especially out in rural areas where rebuilding the infrastructure takes far longer. You might think you'll stay perfectly calm, but how will your kids handle it when the lights don't flicker back on for 3 straight days? Here's something that might surprise you. According to the Energy Information Administration, the average American household only deals with around 6 hours of power outage across an entire year. That means most people in this country have never spent even one full night in genuine total blackout. We're just not wired for darkness anymore. We don't keep candles tucked in drawers. We don't stash matches in a bag by the door. And yet, when everything else fails, no tech, no batteries, no solar, a simple oil lamp or wax candle still works every single time. Sure, it's ancient technology, but it's EMP-proof, storm-proof, and grid-proof. No circuit boards, no firmware to update, just a wick, a flame, and warm, steady light. Now picture the second night after the EMP. The whole city is pitch black. You hear shouting a few streets over. Maybe it's just someone looking for help. Maybe it isn't. You peek through the window, and here's the thing. Your house is the only one in the neighborhood glowing softly. Would that light bring you safety, or would it turn you into a target? That's exactly where smart prepping comes in. Use low-profile lanterns, hang blackout curtains, and keep your light sources facing inward. You want to see, but you don't want to be seen. You'll want long-burning emergency candles, the kind that can run 100 hours or more. Oil lanterns with extra fuel stored safely in metal cans. And LED lanterns with hand cranks or solar charging, as long as they were tucked into a Faraday cage beforehand. NOAA has noted that solar storms powerful enough to disrupt our power grid tend to strike the Earth roughly once every 100 years. The last big one? Back in 1921. By that math, we're overdue. And our grid today is more fragile than it's ever been. So here's the takeaway. Don't wait around to become the person fumbling through the dark. Stock up on your light sources now. Because when night falls for good, even a single candle could be the difference between fear and peace. 7. A mechanical water pump or gravity filter. Let's get real for a moment. You can survive about 3 weeks without food, but only around 3 days without water. Now picture this. It's day 4 after the EMP. The taps run bone dry. The city's water stations are offline. The filtration plants are down. And your neighbors? They're wandering around with empty jugs, knocking on doors, looking absolutely desperate. This isn't some far-fetched scenario. After the major blackout that swept across the Northeast back in 2003, over 50 million people lost power across the US and Canada. And in dozens of towns, the municipal water systems failed within hours. According to the EPA, the overwhelming majority of US water treatment systems depend on electric pumps and digital monitoring. An EMP knocks those out, and they're done. Could you actually find clean water if your faucet went dry forever, starting right now? So let's talk about solutions that genuinely work when nothing else does. First up, Gravity-fed water filters, like the ones made by Berkey or the LifeStraw family. No electricity, no pressure systems, you literally just pour the water in and wait. These get used in disaster zones all over the planet, and they pull out the vast majority of bacteria, viruses, and even heavy metals. Then there's the manual water pump. If you happen to have a private well, a deep well hand pump can become your absolute lifeline. No motors, no wires, just good old-fashioned leverage and a bit of sweat. Some models can draw clean water up from over 200 feet underground. You'd honestly be shocked how many people live on a well yet have no way to reach that water once the power cuts out. In a long-term grid-down event, rivers and lakes become everyone's backup plan. But so does sewage runoff, chemical leaks, and worse. If you're not filtering that water, you're not surviving. Plain and simple. And here's a gut punch. During the 2021 Texas freeze, hospitals reported a spike in waterborne illness just days after tap service failed. If a single cold snap can do that, just imagine what a nationwide EMP blackout would unleash. So here's exactly what to do. Right now, while your taps still flow, store at least 1 gallon of water per person, per day, for a minimum of 2 weeks. Grab a gravity-fed filter that needs no power and no pressure. If you're on a well, get a non-electric hand pump installed before it's buried under 6 feet of panic. And stash some water purification tablets or iodine drops as a backup. They're cheap, lightweight, and they last practically forever. Because in a world without power, food gets you through a week. But water gets you through the whole fight. If your water shut off this very second, could your family make it to Friday? 8. Manual locks and safes. Let me walk you into a scenario that's honestly all too real. It's the 7th night of a complete blackout. No power, no police patrolling the streets, nobody coming to help. The air just feels different, tense and heavy. Then suddenly, around 2 in the morning, you hear something outside. Not an animal, not the wind. Footsteps. Slow, soft, deliberate ones. You freeze, and your heart starts hammering in your chest. Someone is testing your front door. You reach for your safe, hoping to grab your firearms, some cash, or maybe just a flashlight. But as you fumble in the pitch dark and press the keypad, absolutely nothing happens. The screen is dead. No beep, no unlock, just silence. And that's when it hits you. Your fancy electronic safe has officially become a 200-pound paperweight. This is the reality that most people never stop to consider. We're constantly told to get secure, so we go out and buy smart locks, fingerprint safes, and keypad vaults. But in an EMP scenario, every one of those things fails right along with everything else. According to CISA, unshielded electronic devices, including locking mechanisms, are wide open to a single strong surge. So that digital lock guarding your front door, or your gun safe, is only as reliable as the power it leans on. After Hurricane Maria tore through Puerto Rico in 2017, crime didn't just tick upward, it exploded. Looting was widespread. Homes were broken into. Supplies were stolen. And the one thing standing between families and real danger was whether they had something, anything to protect themselves with, and whether they could actually get to it. In a long blackout, your home becomes your fortress. And if you can't secure what's inside, or worse, you can't even reach it, you're in serious trouble. The good news is that old school still gets the job done. A mechanical safe, the kind you open with a spinning dial or a physical key, is completely immune to power loss. The same goes for traditional deadbolts, padlocks, and anything that doesn't run on batteries or Bluetooth. It might not feel as slick or modern, but when the grid collapses, simplicity wins every time. So the question to ask yourself right now is this. If the power vanished tonight with zero warning, could you still get to your essentials in under 60 seconds? Or are you placing your trust in electronics that might never wake up again? 9. Solar flashlights and solar chargers. Now let's talk about something that seems pretty high-tech, but can actually be a genuine lifeline in a grid-down world. Solar flashlights and solar chargers. Here's the thing most people overlook. The sun isn't going anywhere. Even in a total EMP blackout, even after the grid has completely collapsed, the sun will still rise every single morning. And with the right tools, simple non-digital solar-powered ones, that sunlight can help keep you alive. Imagine it's been 5 days since the EMP struck. The batteries in your regular flashlight died long ago. Your candles are burning low. Your radio's gone quiet, and you're starting to feel cut off from light, from communication, from the whole outside world. But then you pull out your solar flashlight, the one you charge just by setting it on a windowsill, and suddenly you've got vision again. You've got a little comfort. You've got hope. But, and this is a big one, none of that matters if your solar gear was sitting out in the open when the EMP hit. Just like any modern electronics, solar flashlights, lanterns, and chargers contain delicate circuitry. If they aren't protected, they're toast. That's exactly why any serious prepper stores solar-powered items in a Faraday cage. Something as simple as a metal ammo can lined with cardboard can shield them perfectly well. A trash can with a snug lid, some aluminum tape, and a bit of padding makes a great homemade EMP-proof locker. It's not fancy by any means, but it absolutely works. And let's be honest, having even a tiny bit of power gives you options. Maybe you can run a small radio to catch emergency broadcasts. Maybe you can top off a rechargeable lantern or a power bank. Some of the more efficient solar chargers can even power walkie-talkies or small fans. And in the middle of a long, sweltering summer blackout, that little fan can feel like an absolute miracle. But here's the part most people miss. This kind of power doesn't make you invincible, it actually makes you visible. If you're the only home glowing in a pitch-black neighborhood, that could draw in desperate people. So always put security first. Use blackout curtains. Keep your lights pointed inward. Don't go advertising your advantage to the whole street. 10. Non-electric vehicles, like older cars and dirt bikes. Let's imagine something together for a second. You wake up the morning after the blackout. There's no signal on your phone, no power anywhere, and you head out to the driveway. You turn the key in your vehicle and you get nothing. Not even a click. Your modern SUV, your electric car, even that backup generator in the trunk, all fried. Totally useless. Why? Because they all rely on sensitive electronics, and an EMP doesn't care how new or how pricey your gear happens to be. It just wipes the slate clean. Now here's where it gets very real. According to the EMP Commission, most vehicles built after the early 1980s are vulnerable to electromagnetic pulse disruption because of their integrated circuit boards. That means your car, your truck, even that brand new side-by-side parked in the garage is most likely dead on arrival if it wasn't protected. But vehicles built before 1980, the ones with simple mechanical systems and no onboard computers, have a far better shot at surviving. So that rusty old pickup your uncle still tools around in? That carbureted dirt bike from the 70s? They just became absolutely priceless. In a genuine EMP situation, transportation is power. Think about it. No working cars means the roads turn into ghost towns. Gas stations stop pumping. Supply chains snap. Hospitals become unreachable. You might need to move fast, evacuate, or just get from one safe zone to another. And the people who can still move? They're the ones who survive. During the 2021 Colonial Pipeline attack, gas shortages sparked panic all across the Southeast, and that was without an EMP. Now imagine that level of panic nationwide, with no working vehicles to even reach the next town over. FEMA has repeatedly warned that transportation disruption following a large-scale grid failure could cause massive delays in medical response, food distribution, and public safety efforts. That's why every serious prepper keeps a backup vehicle, or at the very least a backup plan. A bicycle is good. A gas-powered scooter with no electronic ignition is better. But an old diesel truck with no electronic components at all? That's pure gold. And if you're really ahead of the game, you've got spare ignition parts stored safely in a Faraday cage, just in case. Because in a post-EMP world, the most valuable engine won't be the one loaded with Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and 12 cup holders. It'll be the one that starts the moment you turn the key, even if it's loud, ugly, and leaks a little oil. Loving the list so far? Do me a quick favor and tap that like button. Let me know in the comments which of these you're going to grab first, and subscribe if you want to stay ready alongside the rest of this community. Seriously, it means the world. Now let's keep going, because I've got a few extra items the original list didn't even cover. 11. A solid stockpile of non-perishable food. Here's something people love to overlook in all the excitement about gadgets and tools. You can have the best flashlight in the world and still go hungry. When the grid goes down, the grocery store shelves empty out faster than you'd ever believe. Studies on supply chains have shown that most stores only carry about 3 days' worth of food at any given time. After a panic buying rush, that window shrinks to mere hours. So what keeps you fed when the trucks stop rolling and the registers go dark? Shelf-stable food that needs no refrigeration and no cooking. Canned beans, rice, pasta, dried lentils, peanut butter, honey, and good old-fashioned freeze-dried meals. None of it depends on electricity to stay edible, and a lot of it lasts for years if you store it somewhere cool and dry. Picture it. It's week 2 of the blackout. Your neighbors are anxiously rationing the last of their snacks, but you're sitting down to a warm, filling bowl of rice and beans cooked over your wood stove. That peace of mind is worth more than gold. FEMA recommends keeping at least a 2-week supply of food per person, and honestly, more is better in a true grid-down scenario. So ask yourself, if the shelves went bare tomorrow, how long could your family actually eat? Start building that pantry now, one extra can at a time. It adds up faster than you think. 12. A well-stocked first aid kit and basic medical knowledge. In a world without power, a small injury can quickly turn into a life-threatening problem. There are no open pharmacies, no ambulances racing to your door, no emergency rooms ready to receive you. A simple cut can get infected. A minor burn can become serious. and if you don't have supplies on hand, you're left completely exposed. That's why a thorough first aid kit is one of the smartest things you can own. We're talking bandages, antiseptic, gauze, medical tape, pain relievers, antibiotic ointment, and any prescription medications your family relies on. But the supplies are only half the equation. You also need to know how to use them. Learning basic first aid, how to clean and dress a wound, how to stop heavy bleeding, how to recognize the signs of infection, could genuinely save a life when professional help is nowhere to be found. Imagine your child takes a bad fall during the chaos, and there's no doctor to call. Would you know what to do? FEMA and the Red Cross both strongly encourage every household to keep a complete medical kit and to take a basic first aid course. These skills don't expire, and they don't need batteries. So before that day ever comes, build your kit, learn the basics, and give your family a real fighting chance. 13. Cash and practical barter items. Here's a reality that catches a lot of people off guard. When the power dies, so do the card readers, the ATMs, and every digital payment system you've come to rely on. No tapping your phone to pay, no swiping your card. In that world, physical cash suddenly becomes king, at least in the early days. Keeping a reasonable amount of small bills tucked away somewhere safe means you can still buy fuel, food, or supplies while the rest of the world scrambles. But cash only carries you so far. As a long blackout drags on, the real currency becomes useful goods. Think extra batteries, lighters, bottled water, canned food, toilet paper, soap, and even coffee. These everyday items become incredibly valuable when nobody can simply run to the store. Picture trading a handful of lighters for a tank of fuel, or swapping some canned goods for medicine your family desperately needs. People did exactly this kind of bartering during major disasters when the normal economy froze up. So set aside some cash now, and quietly stock a few extra practical items you can trade later. It's a simple move that could give you serious flexibility when things get truly difficult. 14. Physical maps and a compass. Here's one that almost everybody forgets, because we've all gotten so comfortable letting our phones tell us exactly where to go. But when the grid collapses, GPS goes with it. No navigation app, no glowing blue dot showing your location, no voice telling you to turn left in 500 feet. If you need to travel somewhere unfamiliar, you'll be totally lost without an old-school backup. That's where physical paper maps and a simple magnetic compass come in. They need no power, no signal, and no software updates. A good road atlas of your region, paired with detailed local maps, can help you find alternate routes, locate water sources, and plan an escape from a dangerous area. And a compass. Well, it works exactly the same way it has for centuries. Imagine needing to evacuate your town, but every familiar road is blocked or jammed. With a paper map, you can spot the back roads and trails that lead to safety. Take a little time now to learn how to read a map and use a compass. It's a genuinely fun skill to pick up, and it could one day guide you and your loved ones straight out of harm's way when nothing electronic is left to help. Wrapping it all up. So now that we've walked through all of these items together, let me ask you something honestly. If an EMP struck tonight, with no warning and no time to prepare, would you actually be okay? Really sit with that for a second. Would your family have light once the sun goes down? Or would they be sitting in darkness, wondering what on earth is happening out there? Could you cook a meal without a microwave? Get clean water without a faucet? Protect your home without relying on electronics? Could you even leave town if you needed to? The hard truth is that most people wouldn't make it 3 days. Not because they're weak, but because they never once believed something like this could happen to them. And that's exactly what makes an EMP so dangerous. It gives you no time at all. There's no countdown, no storm to track on the news, no alert buzzing on your phone. One pulse, 1 second, and your entire life is turned upside down.